This one's for the reggae fans. Protoje live at the O2 Forum in Kentish Town. How was it? I'm going to tell you. My name is Maurice, aka DJ Croc, and welcome to my channel. In this video, I'm going to be talking about that show, the live show by Protoje at the O2 Forum in Kentish Town earlier on this week. First thing I should say is that for all the music I've had of Protoje's, I had never seen him live before, so this is going to be my first time seeing Protoje do a live performance. So I went there pretty much as a blank canvas, with an open mind and a blank canvas as to what to expect. Even though I did have some high expectations just from what I know of him and his music and the content, but I had no previous experience of a live performance to go off, so I just went there with an open mind. The attendance was great. Downstairs was full, front to back, left to right, full house, very mixed crowd. Black, white, Asian, young, old, men, women, very mixed crowd. Me even see a dog in there. I don't know how a man got to be in the place with a dog. There was a man in the place with a dog. But it's a very mixed crowd. I couldn't see how much people were upstairs, but certainly downstairs was full. Production, in terms of technical production, sound quality, always talk about sound quality. The sound man in me always has to talk about sound quality. And on this night, the sound was good. There were maybe, spells where it was a little bit low, but clearly the staff, the sound production staff or the sound engineering staff were paying attention, because you could hear that the adjustments were made. What I use largely as a barometer for making a judgment on the quality of the sound at a live show is, can I hear what the artist is saying? If I can't hear what the artist is saying, then to me, it almost makes no point in being there, because you can't hear what's being said, or you just can't hear or any the messages in the music. And with an artist like Protoje, whose music is so heavily laced with deep messaging, it is even more important, in my opinion, to be able to hear what he is saying. So that's the barometer I generally tend to use when making a judgment on sound quality. Can I feel some nice bass at the top's crystal clear, and can I hear what the artist is saying? And the answers to those questions were mostly yes. So sound was good, lighting was good, so technical production was very, very good. In terms of the warm-up before Protoje and his band hit the stage, so we had a DJ, which in itself is a bonus nowadays when you get more and more promoters choosing to put on big live shows and not even have a DJ, which in my opinion is scandalous behavior. But there was a DJ at this show, and she was doing her thing with a host. I didn't catch either of their names. I'm not even sure if they put their names out there, but I didn't catch either of their names. And the DJ who was played a nice selection of music. She played from foundation reggae, like Dennis Brown, come right up to the present. And she played a little bit of dancehall in there as well, and old school dancehall. It was all positive vibes, there was no slackness of any kind, as you would probably expect from a Protoje show. So she played a nice selection of music. But still, I feel like we have a much greater depth of reggae DJing talent here in London. And so we've got much more than that here to offer to a live show like this. No disrespect to the young lady who was playing, but because like I said, she played a nice selection of music. There was nothing wrong with that. But we do have a much stronger pool of reggae talent here in London, so I feel that could have been better. The hosting is a skill that not everybody has or really appreciates. Some people think it's you just need someone on the mic just chatting random whatever into the microphone and shouting every now and again, put your hands in the hair, whatever, and think that's what it is. And it's not just that. It is much more than just constantly and repeatedly shouting, when I say this, you say that, this, that, make some noise. It's much more than just shouting that into the mic every 5 minutes. You are the captain of this ship, and it is your job as the host to steer the direction that this ship goes in and take the people with you. You know what I mean? There are all kinds of other analogies you can use, but basically it's your job to kind of control this crowd and the energy. And there's a skill to doing that just not everybody really has. And you also got to build a connection with the crowd, but also stay connected to the person who is playing the music on stage with you. So it really is a job that you, and a skill that you have to be able to juggle those different things and make all of these different kind of elements to it work together. Do you know what I mean? It's a definite skill. And I guess I'm trying to say that I don't think that the host at this show was particularly skilled in that way. But bless them, the two of them did their best and they didn't do bad. You know, this was no disrespect to either of them. They didn't do a bad job. I just think we have stronger here in London that we could have chosen from. I don't think there were any live performances or artists who performed ahead of the DJ and Protoje and his band coming out. I got to the show, I think about 8:15, something like that, 8:15. So unless someone came on really early, I didn't see any artists perform prior to Protoje and his band. That I felt was also a little bit of a disappointment and maybe, you know, a missed opportunity on the part of the promoters or the organizers. Again, we have a wealth of phenomenal reggae talent here in the UK. As a matter of fact, when I arrived at the venue, one of the first people I saw, in fact, the first person I did speak to who saw me was Tesha Makida. Now, it was great to see her there, but one of the first things I said to her was, you should be on stage right now performing at a show like this. What's up with that? That was a whole thing in itself. Obviously, we need to revisit that conversation. But my thinking was, someone like that is someone who will be perfect for a show like this. Someone who has a phenomenal reggae talent, an amazing voice, and whose message and energy and vibration is very similar to that of Protoje. So I feel like someone like Tesha Makida would have perfectly complemented this show. And it frustrates me all now why more reggae promoters are not taking notice of her. She should be on her own show, to be honest, headlining her own show by now. But even if not, someone like her should definitely be on shows like this, you know, to open up for, you know, bigger artists like Protoje. So I think she would have been a great fit for this. But even if it's not her, just, you know, have someone, I think, who can, you know, really warm up the crowd neatly before the main artist touches the stage. So the warm-up section was lacking for me personally. You know, I'm not saying it was bad. Again, no disrespect to the DJ or the host. I'm not saying it was bad at all, but we definitely could have done better. Moving on to the band. Now, the band were, in a word, they were bloody brilliant. They were phenomenal. The band was really, really, really good. They did a long intro before Protoje actually touched the stage. I felt it was maybe a little bit too long, but I don't know, maybe that's about them just kind of, I don't know, you know, warming up kind of thing or what have you, or just kind of setting the mood. But the band was super tight, super tight throughout. Protoje came out. His performance was very, very strong. From start to finish, very, very strong performance. There wasn't really any weak links in his performance, I should say. And, you know, Protoje is a multi-dimensional artist, you know, even within the field of reggae, you know, because he has the roots element to his music, and then he has the lovers as well, and then you have the dancehall element, and even had some hip hop influences in some of the tune them as well. And the way that he kind of dances between those different elements was a joy to watch. It really was, and he did it with such ease. It was a joy to watch. It really was. Another thing I must say about Protoje is he has a wealth of not just talent, but he has a wealth of really successful collaborations with other artists. Stephen Marley, Damian Marley, Popcorn, Jesse Royal, Savannah, Kabaka Pyramid, Chronics, to name a few. All right, so he has a plethora of really successful collaborations with other great artists. Therefore, it was a big surprise and an equally big disappointment to me that he didn't bring one of those artists out with him to do one of their collaborative tracks. I was very surprised by that. I knew going to this show that me looking to see Chronics come out at the end doing Who Knows with him and maybe Flames, I know that was wishful thinking, right? I knew this and I accepted that this was wishful thinking before I even got to the show, all right? But I thought, you know, we might not get Chronics, we might not get Damien Marley or Popcorn, but, you know, he's got so much collaborations. He's bound to bring somebody. You know, we might get Jesse Royal or, you know, Savannah, Kabaka Pyramid. You know, we might get someone. We didn't get anybody. Well, I'm not saying we didn't get anybody. Obviously, we got Protoje and his whole band and his backing singers as well. But in terms of those collaborations, we didn't get any of those collaborations. And I was very, very surprised that we didn't even get one of those. I have to say here, though, that the backing singers did a very good job of covering Savannah's part on the track Sudden Flight. You know, they did a very good job of covering Savannah's part on that track, although still it would have been really nice, or nicer still, if Savannah had come out and done her part herself. You know what I mean? So to not have any of those collaborative artists there was, yeah, like I said, very surprising and quite disappointing personally for me. Another disappointment was he didn't come out and spend time with the fans. He did say before he left stage that he was going to come out and, you know, spend time with the fans and sign merch and take pictures and all of that. And I waited around for quite some time, especially at the merch store. I bought my records, bought my merch, but didn't see him come out. So that was a bit of a disappointment as well. As I speak about the merch store, what was great about the merch store is that he had all of his albums there on vinyl. And so you see, I came back with 3 vinyl albums. The Ancient Future album is the one album I didn't get because this little cross, this boy in front of me in the queue, he bought the last one. I was so vexed. That he bought the last Ancient Future album just before I got there. But I did manage to get the other albums, the 2 previous releases, A Matter of Time and In Search of Lost Time, and also managed to pick up the brand new album which is out this Friday, The Art of Acceptance. Yeah, that's the brand new album that is out this Friday. So it was wonderful that all of the albums were available on vinyl at a very reasonable price, £35 each and £40 for the new one. That's great. That's very, very good. Very, very good price. The album that I didn't get, Ancient Future, on Discogs right now, the album is between £70 to £90. So for him to be selling them £35 was a great bargain. Great deal. So salute to Protoje for that. And it was just great to see all the music available on vinyl. You see me already, you know, so I love my vinyl. So for me, that's like, oh, you know what I mean? So that was good. But when you go to a live show, visit the merch store before the show starts. All right. Another friend of mine was there and she did that. And she schooled me on that. She went to the merch store and bought her merch and her records before the show started. So when the show done, all she had to do was go back and collect what she'd already bought. So she didn't have to run the risk of things being sold out, like what would happen with me, like what had happened with me. She went there early, bought her stuff and just left it there, and she just went and collected it after. So that's the tip. When you go to a live show, don't wait until after the show to go to the merch stand or the merch store. Go before the show starts. So although, you know, I found the warm-up section a little bit lackluster in my personal opinion, in terms of the opening or warm-up entertainment, and I was obviously disappointed that we didn't get any of the collaborations from, you know, that he's known for, that we know him for. That was disappointing as well. That being said, it did not take away from a super strong performance by Protoje and the band and the backing singers. They were all tight. They were a tight unit. There were no weak links, and they looked like they had practiced and rehearsed this a lot and very well. I mean, they were sharp. They were really on point. Great performance. And I will also say that, in fact, overall, I would give the show a solid 9 out of 10. A solid 9 out of 10. And I'll end by saying this, that in this era of reggae music that we're in at the moment, where I feel that reggae music, dancehall more specifically, has largely lost its way. And I believe is drowning in negativity, or caught up in a perpetual cycle of negative energy in terms of what it's bringing in, the energy it's bringing in, or that's being put into dancehall, and the energy that is coming out from dancehall. It just seems to be a perpetual cycle of negative energy that is consuming dancehall at the moment. And as someone who comes from reggae as a foundation and sound system culture more specifically as a foundation, it saddens me. It really almost breaks my heart to say that, about the state of reggae at the moment. However, going to this show on Sunday really felt like a breath of fresh air. And in the midst of this era that we're in with dancehall, artists like Protoje, to me, are really a breath of fresh air, and they are needed even more so amongst the tide of negative energy that's pervading in dancehall at the moment. Not to say that there never was negative energy, but the state it's in now, I believe, like I said, it's largely lost its way. So to go at this show really was a breath of fresh air, to be at a reggae show that was putting out pure positive vibes and positive energy, not just in the music while Protoje and the band were performing, but in between the tracks as well, and the talk that he would make to the crowd and the connections that he was making with the crowd. Everything was just pure positive energy, pure positive vibration. When the show finished, speaking to my friend who I said went to the merch store and got her stuff early, and I asked her what she thought of the show, and the word that she used was healing. She used the word healing. She said it was healing, and I think that was a very good word to use, because the show did feel like it was very healing for the soul, and Protoje just put out so much positive energy out there to the people. And when the show finished, it really felt like everybody came out of that place just on a positive vibe, man. Do you know what I mean? Everybody just came out on a vibe of just love and positivity and just good vibes and good energy. And it's like he put that out there to all of us in the music and in his talk, and then just sent us off at the end of the show out into the world to, go and spread that positive energy wherever we went. It really felt like that. And so I just want to, I have to say that I think that in these times, in the state of where dancehall is now, artists like Protoje, they are a breath of fresh air, and they are even more necessary and needed even more, especially now. So to sum it up, it was a great show. Like I said, solid 9 out of 10. Disappointed we didn't get the collaborative artists, and the warm-up could have been better, but overall it was a solid performance, a great show, great energy all the way through, and came away with a load of merch, new albums on vinyl as well. So all in all, it was a great night. It really was a great night. Don't forget the Art of Acceptance, the new album, is out this Friday, so go and check that out. That is it for now. I'm going to be back I think probably tomorrow with another one, so stay tuned for that. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you subscribe to the channel to get a heads up when the new one or the next one comes out. Until then, stay blessed. Peace.